Today, we're going to kind of jump back in time. We're going way back to ancient India.
Oh, wow.
And we're going to be exploring this fascinating lineage of kings that's detailed in the Brahma Purana.
Okay.
And it's like we're piecing together this giant historical puzzle spanning generations and kingdoms.
Wow.
All from audio excerpts of chapters 7 and 8, narrated by Abha Sharma.
You know what's so intriguing about this is that the Brahma Purana itself is one of Hinduism's 18 major Puranas, these incredibly significant texts.
Yeah.
And through these excerpts, we're not just getting names and dates.
Right.
We're really getting a glimpse into the beliefs and the values and even the power dynamics of an entire civilization.
Absolutely. And so we start with King Ayus.
Okay.
And he's got 5 sons. And 2 in particular, Nahusha and Nana, really kick off these like sprawling branches of the family tree. It's like each son sets off this chain reaction of stories and legacies.
And from Anna's line comes this king named Raji. And Raji is this figure who was so powerful that even the gods and demons sought out his favor during their epic war.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine that? Being so influential that like cosmic balance hinges on your decision.
That's incredible. And the Brahma Purana actually says that both sides appealed to Brahma for a prediction. And Brahma basically said whoever Raji supports wins.
Wow.
No pressure, right?
What a position to be in.
Talk about being in a tough spot, right?
Yeah.
But Raji seems to have been quite the strategist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he negotiated with both sides and ultimately chose to align himself with the gods.
Wow.
And he even ascended to become Indra himself,
Wow.
the king of the gods.
That's amazing.
Pretty impressive, huh?
Yeah.
But Anna's lineage doesn't stop there.
Okay.
It also includes Dhanvantari, who's considered the remover of all ailments.
Oh, no.
And he studied Ayurveda with the sage Bharadvaja and organized this vast medical knowledge into 8 branches.
I mean, Dhanvantari is still revered as a god of medicine. And it shows you just how these ancient figures continue to hold such a cultural significance.
Yes.
Even today.
Absolutely.
You know, makes you wonder what makes certain individuals from these lineages resonate through time while others kind of just fade away.
That's a great question, and it's so interesting how this theme of legacy keeps popping up. And we see it again with King Devodasa of Kashi, another powerful ruler in Anna's line. It's like each generation builds upon the actions and the reputations of those who came before.
It's like they're standing on the shoulders of giants, right?
Absolutely. And speaking of legacies, we can't forget Nahusha's son, Yayati.
Okay.
And he's a king known for his conquests, but also for this fascinating story about his struggle with desire and aging.
Well, that sounds interesting.
Okay, so Yayati's story is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
He had 2 wives,
Right.
Devayani, the daughter of the sage Shukracharya, and Sharmishtha, an Asura princess.
Oh.
Talk about a blended family. And from these 2 wives came 5 sons,
Okay.
Yadu and Turvasu from Devayani, and Druyu, Anu, and Puru from Sharmishtha.
Wow.
And each son would go on to establish his own lineage, further expanding this intricate family tree.
Right.
But back to Yayati himself.
Okay.
He had this divine chariot, a gift from Indra, which he used to conquer the entire world.
Wow.
But yet, despite all of his achievements, he was terrified of growing old.
Why is that? What was it about aging that was so frightening to him?
Was it a loss of power? Fear of death?
Yeah.
Or something else entirely?
Yeah, you really have to wonder.
Maybe it was that feeling of invincibility fading away?
Yeah, maybe.
Because, get this, he actually went to his sons and asked if any of them would trade their youth for his old age.
Oh my goodness, talk about an awkward family request.
Yeah, I would not want to be on the receiving end of that.
That's a tough one, right?
Yeah.
And predictably, most of his sons refused.
Yeah.
Yadu, the eldest, flat out said no.
And was cursed by Yayati.
Oh.
His descendants forbidden from attaining kingship.
Wow, that's a pretty harsh consequence.
It is, but it shows how seriously Yayati took this whole youth thing.
Yeah.
And the other sons, Druhu, Turvasu, and Anu, they also refused.
They did?
Yeah, they faced similar curses.
It's almost like they were testing his sincerity.
Yeah.
You know, his willingness to face the natural order of life.
Very.
But it was Puru, the youngest, from Sharmishtha, who saw an opportunity.
He did?
Yeah, he agreed to the exchange.
Wow.
And Yayati was temporarily rejuvenated.
Okay.
And he just indulged in all sorts of worldly pleasures.
Really? Like what?
Well, for instance, he found himself this beautiful apsara named Vishwachi.
And for those of us who don't know, who are the Apsaras?
Well, they are these celestial nymphs renowned for their beauty and their grace.
Oh, wow.
So Yayati's living the high life, right? Surrounded by beauty and luxury.
Oh, yeah, he's got it all.
But there's a twist.
Is there?
There is.
I knew it.
This is where Yayati's story takes on a much deeper meaning.
Okay.
He starts to realize that no amount of pleasure or indulgence can truly satisfy him.
Oh, interesting.
The more he chases after it, the more insatiable his desires become.
I think a lot of us can relate to that on some level, right?
I think so.
This idea that happiness can't really be found in external things.
Yeah.
I mean, he actually has this really profound line.
What is it?
He says, "The craving for pleasures never ceases by enjoyment. It only increases like fire by the addition of fuel."
Wow.
It's like he's saying that true fulfillment comes from something else entirely, something beyond just material pursuits.
And it's this realization that ultimately leads Yayati to renounce his worldly life.
Oh, wow.
Undergo rigorous penance.
Okay.
And eventually ascend to heaven.
So we have this king who conquers the world, but learns a really valuable lesson about the nature of desire.
It's like a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
Within this larger epic, right?
Absolutely. But what happens next? Does the story kick up with Puru?
It does.
The son who agreed to the exchange.
Indeed. Puru is considered the main line of descent from Yayati.
Okay.
And his lineage carries the story forward, leading us through this tapestry of kings and sages and heroes who shaped the destiny of ancient India.
Well, I am hooked.
Good.
We're going to have to dive into Kuru's story and the rest of this incredible lineage in the next part of our deep dive. So last time we left off with Puru, the son who inherited Yayati's kingdom, and his lineage is considered the main line of descent.
It is.
It sounds like his story is going to be just as fascinating as his father's.
Oh, it certainly is.
Okay.
Puru's line leads us through this complex web of relationships and significant figures.
Yeah.
We encounter King Radrashava, who remarkably had 10 sons and 10 daughters.
Wow, that's a lot of siblings.
It is.
It must have been quite the dynamic family.
I know, right?
What happened to all those children?
Well, what's particularly noteworthy is how Radrashava's daughters played a role in continuing the lineage.
Oh, okay.
They were married to the sage Atri,
a
prominent figure from the Atri clan.
Right.
And this kind of strategic marriage alliance was very common in ancient India.
Yeah.
It strengthened familial and political bonds.
So we're not just talking about bloodlines here. We're talking about alliances and the expansion of influence through marriage.
Exactly.
It makes you realize that these family trees are more like intricate tapestries.
Yes.
Woven together by relationships and power dynamics.
Precisely. And from this union between Atri and Radrashava's daughters, 10 sons were born.
Okay.
Establishing a whole new branch of the Atri lineage.
Wow.
It's fascinating how these ancient families intertwine, their stories echoing through generations.
It's like tracing the threads of history through these individual lives.
I like that.
And speaking of tracing, I'm curious where Puru's direct line takes us.
Of course.
Where do we go?
Well, we follow the line of Kakshu, one of Radrashava's sons, through his descendants, Kalanala and Srujanya. Eventually reaching the renowned king Janamejaya.
Oh, yes, Janamejaya.
Yes.
He's known for conducting the Sarpasatra.
Right.
A massive serpent sacrifice.
Quite a famous figure in Hindu mythology.
He is, but for now let's stick with the lineage. Are there any other notable branches we should explore?
There are indeed.
Okay.
We have the line of Ushanara, a descendant of King Mahabisha. Ushanara had 5 sons who ruled various regions.
So it demonstrates how these lineages weren't just about bloodlines, but also about the expansion of kingdoms and power.
Yes.
Across ancient India.
Across ancient India.
It's like these families were shaping the very landscape of their world.
I like that.
Their stories are etched not just in genealogies, but also in the geography of ancient India.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
And speaking of shaping landscapes,
yes,
we can't forget King Bali.
Oh, yes.
A descendant of Titukshu, another son of Mahabisha. He was known for his golden quiver and incredible yogic powers.
Yogic powers. Now that sounds intriguing.
It does. Tell me more.
Well, Bali was such an impressive figure that Brahma granted him several boons.
Okay, like what?
Long life, immense strength, profound knowledge of Dharma, and perhaps most remarkably, invincibility in battle.
Invincibility.
Yes. And he was also granted dominion over the three worlds.
Dominion over the three worlds.
The three worlds.
That's like being the ruler of the entire universe.
It is quite a remarkable feat.
No wonder he's remembered as such a legendary king.
A powerful and just ruler.
Yeah.
Reigned for a long and prosperous period.
Wow.
Before finally ascending to heaven.
It's like a testament to the power of virtue and spiritual attainment.
It is.
And what about his descendants?
Yes.
Did they inherit any of his remarkable qualities?
Well, his son Anga carried on the lineage.
Okay.
And his line leads us through several generations to King Champ.
Okay.
Who founded the city of Champa, originally known as Malini.
So it's fascinating to see how these lineages are intertwined with the very foundation of cities and kingdoms.
They are.
They were literally leaving their mark on the map.
Leaving their mark on the map.
Building legacies that would last for centuries.
That they did.
What other notable figures emerge from this line?
Well, as we journey further, we encounter King Jayadratha.
Okay.
A key figure in the epic Mahabharata.
The Mahabharata.
Yes.
So we're getting closer and closer to the events of this monumental story.
We are.
It's incredible to think that we're tracing the very threads that lead to this epic conflict.
The Mahabharata connection is crucial.
It is.
It shows how these seemingly separate lineages converge, shaping the destiny of an entire nation.
Okay, now I'm really starting to see how all these pieces fit together. So where do we go next on our journey?
Let's go back to another of Raja Shava's sons.
Okay.
Rishi.
Okay.
His line leads to King Dushyanta, a prominent figure in Hindu mythology.
Okay.
Known for his love story with Shakuntala.
Ooh, I love a good love story.
However, it's his son who truly steals the show.
Okay, so who are we talking about?
We're talking about the mighty king, Farata.
Farata.
Renowned for his incredible strength.
Okay.
And his association with 10,000 elephants.
10,000 elephants.
10,000 elephants.
That's an army in itself.
It is.
He must have been a force to be reckoned with.
Indeed he was.
Wow.
And what's truly fascinating is that the name Bharatavarsha for India is actually derived from King Farata.
Wow.
His legacy is woven into the very fabric of the nation's identity.
It's amazing how these ancient figures continue to resonate through the ages.
They do.
Their names echoing through time.
Echoing through time.
But I'm also curious about the human side of their stories.
Okay.
Did King Farata face any challenges in his life?
He did.
He did.
Despite his power.
Okay.
He faced difficulty in having a son. It was the sage Bharadvaja who came to his aid.
Okay.
Performed elaborate yajnas. Or ancient fire rituals.
Oh, okay.
To help Farata obtain a son. Named Vatatha.
So it's a reminder that sages and rituals played this incredibly important role.
That they did.
In ancient Indian society.
Absolutely.
They weren't just spiritual figures. They were actively involved in the lives of kings.
Yes.
And the continuation of lineages.
And Vatatha's line leads us to his son Suhotra.
Okay.
And then to Ajamida.
Okay.
Whose lineage marks the origin of the Panchala kingdom.
Wow. So we're seeing the formation of kingdoms, the establishment of boundaries, the consolidation of power in different regions. It's like we're witnessing the very birth of a civilization.
I like that.
Through these interconnected families.
Right.
Their stories are not just personal sagas.
No.
They're the foundation stones of a nation's history.
That's a powerful way to think about it.
And speaking of foundation, we can't forget Kuru,
Kuru.
A descendant of Riksha, who was Ajamida's son.
Right.
He established the Kurukshetra region.
He did.
Which would later become the setting for the epic battle of Kurukshetra.
Of course.
In the Mahabharata.
It all comes back to the Mahabharata.
Wow. So we're laying the groundwork for the Mahabharata piece by piece.
Piece by piece.
Tracing the lineages that will ultimately collide.
They will.
In this monumental clash of destinies.
Exactly.
And the Kuru lineage brings us to the Kauravas, the antagonists in the Mahabharata, often depicted as the villains, constantly scheming and plotting against the Pandavas.
Against the Pandavas, their cousins.
It sounds like we're about to enter the heart of the Mahabharata conflict.
Yes.
The ultimate clash of good and evil, duty and desire.
Light versus darkness.
Light versus darkness. But before we get there, I'm curious about one more figure that you mentioned earlier.
Okay.
Shantanu.
Yes. Shantanu. right.
A descendant of Kuru.
That's right.
And known for his marriage to Ganga, the river goddess.
The river goddess.
A marriage to a river goddess, that sounds like a story in itself.
It does.
And I have a feeling it's going to be closely tied to the events of the Mahabharata.
You are absolutely right.
Okay.
Shantanu's story is deeply intertwined.
It is.
With the epic's narrative, setting the stage for the conflicts and complexities that lie ahead.
Well, then we can't wait to dive into Shantanu's story.
We can.
And his connection to the Mahabharata in the next part of our deep dive. Okay, so we left off with Shantanu.
Yeah.
A descendant of Kuru.
Right.
Known for his marriage to Ganga,
the
river goddess.
It is quite a tale.
It is.
Full of twists and turns that ultimately shape the events of the Mahabharata.
Yeah.
Their union produced a son, Devavaraya, who would later become the legendary Bhishma.
Bhishma.
The warrior and patriarch of the Pandavas.
Right.
He's famous for taking a vow of celibacy.
Yeah. Which just seems like an extraordinary sacrifice.
It is.
Especially for someone in line for the throne.
It stemmed from his unwavering devotion to his father.
Yeah.
And his stepmother, Satyavati.
Okay.
And Bhishma's selflessness, though noble.
Right.
Really set off this chain of events.
It did.
That would contribute to the conflict between the Kauravas and the Pandavas.
It's amazing how one decision can have such a ripple effect, shaping the destinies of so many.
Yeah.
But before we get to the Pandavas and Kauravas, I'm curious about Shantanu and Satyavati.
Okay.
Did they have children together?
They did.
They did.
They had a son named Vichitravirya.
Okay.
But sadly, he died without an heir.
Oh, no.
And this created a succession crisis.
Okay.
And it's here that Vyasa enters the picture.
Wait, Vyasa?
Yes.
As in the Vyasa?
The very same.
The sage who compiled the Mahabharata?
Yes.
The one we're exploring right now?
Correct.
He was called upon to father heirs.
He was.
For Vichitravirya's widows. And this resulted in the birth of Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidura.
It did.
So the author of the epic is also a character within it.
That's right.
It just adds a whole new layer of complexity.
It does.
And intrigue to the Mahabharata.
It certainly does.
And with the births of Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidura, we're moving closer to the heart of the Mahabharata's central conflict.
We are.
Each brother played a crucial role.
He did.
In the events that unfolded.
Yes.
So tell me about these brothers.
Okay.
What were they like?
Well, Dhritarashtra, the eldest, was born blind.
Okay.
And this fact would have really profound consequences.
Right.
Because despite being the firstborn, he was passed over for the throne.
Okay.
In favor of Pandu.
That must have created some tension within the family.
It did.
But Pandu's reign was short-lived?
It was.
He died, leaving behind his 5 sons, the Pandavas.
That's right.
To be raised alongside Dhritarashtra's sons, the Kauravas.
The Kauravas.
And here we have the seeds of the great rivalry that defines the Mahabharata. Good versus evil. Duty versus desire.
Light versus darkness.
Light versus darkness.
All embodied in this conflict.
Wow.
Between these two sets of cousins.
It's a classic clash of personalities and ideologies.
It is.
Played out on this epic scale.
An epic scale.
But for our deep dive today,
yes,
we're focusing on the lineage itself.
Right.
So let's trace the line from one of the most famous Pandavas.
Okay.
Arjuna.
Arjuna.
The skilled warrior and archer.
Known for his unwavering focus.
Right.
And divine connection to Krishna.
His lineage continues through his son Abhimanyu.
It does.
The courageous young warrior.
Who tragically met his end in the Battle of Kurukshetra.
That's heartbreaking.
It is a tragic tale.
But his legacy didn't end there.
No. No, it didn't.
Right.
Abhimanyu's legacy lived on.
Okay.
Through his son Parikshit.
Okay.
Who became the emperor after the Kurukshetra War.
Wow.
And his reign marked the beginning of a new era.
It did.
A time of peace and prosperity after that devastating conflict.
So his lineage continues.
It does.
Through his son.
Yes.
Janamahaya.
Janamahaya, a king we encountered earlier.
Right, in our exploration.
Yes.
It's remarkable how all these seemingly disparate threads come together, weaving this intricate tapestry of history.
That they do.
It's like the entire saga of ancient India is encoded within these interconnected families. And our deep dive concludes.
It does.
With Janamahaya's sons and grandson, ending with the story of Ajapashva.
Ajapashva.
Who was raised by the sages Ramaka and Pela.
Yes.
I remember you mentioning Ajapashva before. He had that interesting nickname.
He did.
Because of his dark-colored ribs.
Yes.
It's just a reminder that even in these grand narratives of kings and heroes, there's a touch of the everyday, the human.
Absolutely.
It makes these figures feel more relatable.
It does.
More real. It's been an incredible journey.
It has.
Through generations of ancient Indian kings.
Generations.
From Ayus to Ajapashva.
Yes.
We've delved into the Brahma Purana, uncovering stories of power, ambition, wisdom, and the enduring legacy of lineage.
It's fascinating.
It is fascinating.
How these stories continue to resonate with us.
They do.
Even today.
Yeah.
I mean, the themes of ambition, duty, desire, and the search for fulfillment are as relevant now as they were thousands of years ago.
Absolutely. It makes you wonder, what will our own legacies be?
Yes.
How will our actions and decisions shape the future?
It's something to ponder.
It is something to think about as we navigate the complexities of our own lives.
It really is. And on that note,
I
encourage you to contemplate the wisdom of these ancient kings and the echoes of their lives in your own.
Absolutely.
What lessons can we learn from their triumphs and their failures?
Right.
How can their stories guide us on our own journeys?
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning.
Yes.
And keep diving deep